Okay, here we go. The next one, we're going to talk about iconicity. What did I say iconicity was? It was a way of seeing how much, how concrete something is. Okay. Well, I'm going to suggest, I've been suggesting, that we don't represent core language because we don't have a way to represent it in a way that we would call concrete, and in a way that's safe and sure, that we feel that we can teach. And I'm going to present to you a system that I developed, and it's about as far away from me as my next heartbeat. So if you'll forgive a certain degree of myopia here, I'm going to try to portray this system in its benefits and some of its warts, and talk to you about how it can be used to represent core vocabulary, and how that core vocabulary can be useful and helpful for many people in developing, going through the stages of language development and in communicating. Okay, we're going to go to iconicity. Okay, iconicity. There have been more doctoral dissertations and master's theses written on iconicity than any other topic, and a famous one was written by Dr. Caroline Musselwhite, which was a study of bliss symbols, rebus, and sign language.
And PIC-SIMS.
PIC-SIMS.
The old PIC-SIMS before Dynasims.
Okay, PIC-SIMS, okay. And Caroline was testing which one of these were more transparent, namely which ones were more guessable. Okay, Carol Goosen's doctorate was in this area, Mark Mazuka. The tremendous number of doctoral dissertations have been written in this area, more than any other single topic. And iconicity is a technical term. Jeez. Iconicity is a technical term that describes the resemblance between a symbol and whatever it represents. There are two kinds of iconicity that semanticists distinguish. One is called primary iconicity, or direct representation. The other is secondary iconicity, or indirect representation. We generally use both types of iconicity. A cup on a language board can mean cup. But if you went up to someone, or talking with someone who was using a communication board and he or she hit cup, you'd be kind of a ninny to say cup, wouldn't you? You would say thirsty, spill, what's going on here? You want something to drink? So that would be called secondary iconicity, or indirect representation. Which of these two forms of representation has been proven, do you think, to be easier in populations with cognitive impairments? Well, primary iconicity. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay, now, when you think of, what symbol system would you think of when you think of the symbol system that might be most, you're familiar with Mayor Johnson, you're familiar with Dynasims, Minspeak symbols, and probably some others. Which of those symbol systems do you think might be the one that is more primary than others? I would say most people would say Mayor Johnson symbols or PCS. Okay.
Bruce, I think that people are starting to use more clip art now that we're using more digital cameras in clip art than we used to. That when you're looking at iconicity, that people are thinking that the photos of something could be used as the symbols representing. So it's because we can digitally store things better now, that it's getting a little bit more prevalent than just the Meyer Johnson. It's almost as popular that some people say.
Well, in this area, I know in areas where it's wall-to-wall Meyer Johnson, and there have been some important research done that shows that quite often photographs are not as interpretable as line drawings.
Which is what I wanted you to say.
Okay. I know when you look at a photograph of your dog, your dog Rover there, You're also looking at a photograph of a chair, and if Rover's in the front yard, Rover's a little hard to see when he's reduced to a 1-by-1, you know, and you see more like the green background of the yard, and if Rover's a white and brown dog, you know, some of that stuff fades away. So, so even in terms of iconicity, there are saliency issues. But iconicity is the resemblance question, and it has been tested all in many different ways in AAC. Okay, now traditionally, not with photographs, but with the symbol system, there have been 3 measures of iconicity. These were set out by Bellucci and Klima in a famous paper in 1976, in which they asked the question, why are sign languages easier to learn than spoken languages? And they determined it was because of the iconicity, because sometimes signs resemble what they mean. Let me give you an example. Here is what they meant by a sign that was transparent. Namely, you could see it directly. Do we need to lower the lights here? Is that clear for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Iconicity, okay. Transparent would be this kind of a hand sign. What does that mean? Drink. It's very iconic. Now, a translucent hand sign would be a sign that you couldn't necessarily guess, but once you were told, you would not forget. Like, how many know what this means? Girl. Why does it mean girl?
Bonnet.
Bonnet. And you see, we're told that it means bonnet. This makes it translucent. And it's a certain type of indirect representation. It's called translucent. And in the iconicity biz, you have high translucency and low translucency. Now, this picture of an open book would be a fairly good symbol on your board for reading, or it could be used as a symbol for reading. Reading itself is fairly hard to represent, isn't it? But this book, you know, conveys the idea of reading. But suppose you had to represent the noun phrase English class. Now that gets harder. What are you going to have? A picture of someone talking with a statue of Shakespeare above? You know, English class is going to be hard, and you could use an open book to show literature. You see what I mean here? You could use an open book, but this would be relatively low translucency, and this would be more high translucency. And then opaque is when the symbol bears no relationship to the thing that it represents. For instance, the backslash in bliss means the. There's no relationship between the and the backslash. And that would be called an opaque symbol. Now, let us take a further look here. Is English transparent, translucent, or opaque? In fact, English and all other naturally occurring human languages.
Very opaque.
They're opaque. There is no relationship between the sound table and the physical fact of a table, or else it couldn't be la mesa in Spanish. You see, the sound, the meaning and the sound are not related, except in a few words like boom, vroom, and maybe splash. Generally speaking, our words are opaque, and natural languages are famously opaque. Okay. But these are the measures of iconicity. So natural speech has very little iconicity. Very little. But symbols can have transparent, translucent. Can you think of an opaque sign? What?
Vague.
They?
Vague.
Vague?
Vague.
V-A-G-U-E?
Yes.
Okay, vague. That looks iconic to me. But this one is not iconic. It's good. Is that good?
Okay.
Why?
No. That, what?
No, it's
Thank you.
Okay, wait, wait,
Yeah,
isn't
you're
this,
right, you're right.
This is good.
this is good.
Yes.
This is, thank you. Okay, this is good. Okay, now, that's opaque, isn't it? I mean, it's hard to make a story about that one. Okay. This is translucent. This is transparent. Okay. Now,